You know the feeling. You're lying awake, scrolling through your phone, trying to drown out the low-level hum of anxiety about your job, your inbox, or the future. Maybe you try to fix it by color-coding your calendar, or you start browsing flights for a tropical vacation, hoping a change of scenery will hit the reset button on your brain. We treat these psychological stress tests like they are byproducts of the 21st century. But the urge to outrun our own minds was diagnosed with surgical precision 2,000 years ago by a retired politician in ancient Rome. He documented his insights in a collection we now call Letters from a Stoic. It's a series of 124 personal letters written by Lucius Annaeus Seneca to his friend, a Roman official named Lucilius. Seneca didn't write these to be debated in academic halls. He wrote them as a psychological survival manual, a set of daily, practical exercises to keep a person sane when the world around them is actively falling apart. The speed of our communication has accelerated since the 1st century, but the vulnerabilities of the human operating system haven't moved an inch. Between 62 and 65 AD, Seneca was navigating a highly lethal political environment. He had spent over a decade advising the Emperor Nero, whose reign had devolved into erratic, bloody paranoia. Seneca recognized his position was precarious. He had officially retired, but he possessed no real control over his political influence, his massive wealth, or even his physical safety. A single bad mood from the emperor could mean an immediate death sentence. To endure this reality, he leaned entirely on Stoic philosophy. He argued that since the external world is wildly unpredictable, the only way to achieve freedom and tranquility is to govern your internal responses. When your life is dictated by the chaotic whims of a volatile ruler, building a fortified, self-sufficient inner life is your only viable defense mechanism. Seneca taught this philosophy by observing mundane, everyday habits. Take his 28th letter. He addresses a friend's complaint that a long trip failed to cure his heavy, anxious mood. Seneca points out the obvious flaw in what he calls the geography cure. He writes that you flee along with yourself. You pack your bags, cross the ocean, and arrive at your destination having dragged your exact same unresolved fears and vices right along with you. To actually cure the restlessness, you have to realize that genuine contentment requires very little, just basic food, water, shelter, and a disciplined mind. Chasing luxurious retreats is a waste of energy if the mind itself is a mess. He applies that same logic to the habit of lying awake at night, agonizing over worst-case scenarios that haven't actually occurred. This is the focus of his 13th letter. The Stoics observed that fear tracks directly with desire. If what we want drops, what we fear losing automatically decreases. We project phantom catastrophes into the future, reacting to illusions. As Seneca warns, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Booking a flight to outrun your mood or obsessing over a future crisis are the exact same mistake. They are failed attempts to control things outside your immediate grasp. We also try to control our environment by securing social status. We measure our worth using job titles, massive square footage, and bank accounts. To understand how radical Seneca's response to this was, you have to look at the society he lived in. Rome was an empire built on extreme, brutal stratification, where human beings were routinely enslaved and slaughtered for public entertainment. Yet in his 47th letter, Seneca writes that enslaved people are actually our fellow slaves. An emperor and a laborer are equally vulnerable to disease, bad luck, and death. We all serve the exact same master, fate. If everyone is equally exposed to fortune, then social rankings mean nothing. The only reliable, true measure of a person's worth is their internal character and their capacity for virtue. And that brings us to the most finite resource we have. In his very first letter, Seneca tackles the uneasy sensation that our days are simply slipping through our fingers while we put off actually living. He points out a glaring contradiction. We fiercely protect our money, hoarding every coin, but let people steal our time without a second thought. Seneca argues we misunderstand aging. We don't just look ahead to death, we die daily. Every past hour belongs to death. To master your mind, Strip away the false security of bank balances and job titles, and recognize that the current hour is the only thing you actually own. Writing about resilience from a comfortable villa is one thing, but Seneca's ideas were eventually subjected to a severe, real-world stress test. In 65 AD, Emperor Nero's paranoia reached a boiling point. Implicating his former tutor in a conspiracy, Nero ordered Seneca to take his own life. According to historical accounts, Seneca didn't panic. He didn't beg for mercy or compromise his dignity. He faced his execution with the precise, practiced calm he had spent years detailing in his letters. He accepted that death is an inevitable law of nature. As the Stoic maxim goes, the fates lead the willing and drag the unwilling. He chose to walk forward willingly. We are probably not going to face an execution order from a Roman emperor, but we will face volatile economies, unreasonable bosses, and terrible luck. We can't control any of that. What we can do is build an inner fortress so strong that when the chaos finally arrives, we can meet it with absolute, unshakable dignity.